Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. It's so great to have you all here. My name is Leanne Webster. I'm the Executive Director with the National Board for Health and Wellness Coaching. And I am joined here with my two colleagues. Nicole and Katie, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Nicole Pope. I'm the Director of Operations for the National Board for Health and Wellness Coaching. And we're thrilled to have such a great group here today.
And I'm Katie Goodell. I live in Dallas, Texas. I have been with NBC-HWC as an administrative coordinator since last April, and I'm also a board certified coach. Welcome, everybody.
Oh, and I am a National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach as well. So I am here to introduce our guest. We've been waiting for months for Dr. Ivan Young to come talk with us. For anyone who doesn't know, Dr. Young has quite a prominent presence online. He has had more than 3 million views on his TEDx talk. He's got over 80,000 followers on Facebook. So you've obviously built a thriving practice, Dr. Young, and clearly empathy is at the heart of that. Dr. Ivan Young, thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay. We do have a large group today. Somali.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Young. One of the things that I'm very interested in, and I've spent the last 2 decades, is working on diversity, equity, and inclusion. How does and one of the things I'm grappling with is that in the coaching space, there are not a lot of people who are like me. I don't want to say I'm a diversity coach.
What do you mean like me? I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I want you to specify what that means.
So I'm Asian American of Indian origin. I'm an immigrant. Mm-hmm. I grew up in India and then came here to study. So I haven't grown up in the US. I was educated at Columbia and I have all the credentialing, and now I'm working on my ICF, and I've just taken the board exam. But one of the things that I've been working in public health and DEI all over the world as well here, and I'm interested in bringing that into the coaching sphere. And since you've been a diversity coach and had a lot of experience with it, I was wondering if you had any words of wisdom
yes,
on how to do it.
I just had the pleasure of speaking to the ICF India a couple of months ago. So this really hits close to home. Any of us, and when I say of us, I'm saying women, marginalized community, LGBTQ, if you're a minority. I know in my culture, which is African-American and Latino blended, I grew up all my life hearing, if you're going to be accepted, you're going to have to be twice as good as the white guy that does what you do. We live in a world that is not fair. It is just, right? It's just what we make it. Now, the truth is, you cannot get so hypersensitized to that you forget about there are a lot of more good people in this world than there are racists, bigots, and sexists. There are a lot more people that are open-minded than narrow-minded. There are a lot more people that lean toward doing what's right than what's wrong. So I will say to anybody that is in a marginalized community, one of the reasons I have all this stuff on the walls, right, is because I wanted to be irrefutably sound to the point that if someone were to look at me, they could not, even if they don't like me, even let's say they are a bit biased or bigoted or whatever they are, they would have to, after meeting and engaging with me, they would have to say, you know what, I don't like him. He's not my cup of tea, but he's damn good at what he does. Or he knows you know what I mean? I wanted to make sure that I was irrefutably credentialed, that if someone said, well, I don't know, and I can say, you can say you don't know all you want. I'm nationally board certified as a health and wellness coach, and they don't just hand that out to everybody, right? Or I'm an EMCC. You don't just get that because you didn't meet some measures. And as we get these credentials, what I'm going to suggest to you is you look at the place where you feel that I can give hope to people that lack it. I can be the change that they seek. As coaches, our job is to give someone enough light. If they are down in the rabbit hole, your job is to shine a flashlight down there and ask them, what do they see? Right? Your job isn't to go down in the rabbit hole with them. As a coach, your job is to remind them, again, your toolbox, appreciative inquiry. Well, you know, there was a time in your life, based on me, you just sitting here, you overcame something like what we're talking about. Tell me about that time. What did you do? What did you use? Who was in your corner? Okay, of that, what's present right now? Maybe those people are deceased, but do you have somebody similar? Or maybe you're not in the same neighborhood, not in the same country, but what in this country do you see that resembles what was back home, right? And as you start connecting to purpose and core values, that is going to enable you to help someone migrate from misery to meaning. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. And, you know, related to that, I mean, I'm sort of thinking about how do I fit diversity into into the coaching services, but also I'm interested in sort of working to bring other minorities into the coaching field, especially women.
May I say
and
this?
Women of color.
May I say this to you?
Yeah.
Be excellent yourself. And in doing that, you just brought minority women to the table. Be excellent yourself. And you just gave a validity because somebody is looking at you saying, well, if she can do that, I can do that. And it may not be a West Indian. It may not be. It may be an Anglo female from Chattanooga. But at the end of the day, you're creating diversity by having an open mind and a permeable personality to work with all people. I think the greatest tool for diversity is to understand we are the diversity.
Right, right. Thank you. Thank you.
Stephanie, you're up next.
How can someone go about identifying what their target clientele or areas of expertise specifically within coaching might be? And then how might you establish a client base in that area?
There is a place in coaching where we can be so passionate about something that is a indicator. It is the last area that we need to coach in. And what I mean by that is if you are coaching in an area where you find over alignment or the term would be to be overly integrated because of the subject matter. And I'll give you an example of this. Let's say, God forbid, that you just lost a parent or you just lost a child or you're going through a divorce and you decide that because I'm having this experience and it's proximal in time. I'm not saying you can't do this effectively when you're able to put a healthy distance between your emotional state concerning the subject matter and your passion for the subject, which is two totally different things. Earlier, Leanne mentioned the amygdala and how empathy connected to the amygdala is, and again, that's the sympathetic nervous system. Well, if that empathy can shift a little bit and still have the resonance of the amygdala, but the dominance of the prefrontal cortex, now you are able to be mindfully empathetic and practice accurate empathy.
Courtney, you're up next.
Hello, Dr. Young. Good
Hi,
afternoon.
Courtney.
Yes, well, let me start with my premise of who I am. I'm a recently retired firefighter paramedic, and I have my national board certification as a health and wellness coach. Also have my master's in exercise and wellness. And the exercise and wellness part, it seems that there is a large population that see the importance of the exercise part, but with the wellness part, with the mental health, it tends to be more of a stigma. How do you see us transitioning the need to condition our mental health like we do our physical health? It's interesting, some of the other avenues, whether they be grassroots or whether they be on the national level, to bring that importance of conditioning our minds through health and wellness coaching and tapping some of the resources to make it easy for us to go both between whether it be coaching skills or coaching profession?
This is when you start looking at work from people like Daniel Goleman and understanding what is the relationship between emotional intelligence and awareness and then health and wellness. And I think that where I would start with that is to really get an understanding of why is this connection important. If we look at it from the commercial side of messaging and, okay, how do I market this? How do I message this? What's going to end up happening is you may attract the audience, but you're not going to keep them. The way that you keep this audience is having answers to questions that people did not know to ask. And the way that you do that, and I will use the National Board's website again, is to go back and look at what are some course offerings that come with either an additional certification, look beyond the CEUs if there are some certifications that accompany these CEUs, and start really digging into what is the relationship between these two things, and why does that relationship between these two things matter? When you can connect to that, that's when you can start speaking to your clients in such a way that your questions, again, powerful questions, when you can ask questions that help them to come to that generative moment where they say, damn, I've never thought of that. I never had an idea that there's a relationship between this and this. And then again, your next question, well, since you're recognizing that, I'm observing that you're recognizing that, why would that be meaningful? Or why would that be important to you? And when you can speak to that with the bookmarks of knowledge, understanding that, here's physiological wellness, here's cognitive wellness, here's psychological wellness, and you understand that in a commensurate way, you don't have to sell anything anymore. What you're able to do now is help the client through their own awareness understand the need and the value for what you are offering in terms of a step in a path or a direction they have not previously migrated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much.